In 1945, Nuremberg, Germany, the birthplace of the Nazi Party, is in ruins. It becomes a spot for the Nuremberg trials, an international trial against the crimes of the Nazi regime. 24 major Nazi criminals face judges from the Allied powers. Few admit their guilt, requiring over 200 sessions of cross-examination. Most of them claim to only have been doing what they were told. Hitler committed suicide prior to the trials, but a second-hand man, Hermann Göring, constructor of the first concentration camp, is present. He pleads not guilty on all crimes against humanity, but with an abundance of evidence, the prosecution easily refutes his plea and gets him and 11 other criminals sentenced to death. 12 additional trials are held between 1946 and 1949. Although the legal justifications for the trials were controversial at the time, they are now marked the first prosecutions for crimes against humanity and are regarded as a major milestone towards the establishment of a permanent international court. Proper justice could never be served for crimes of such extreme magnitude, but these trials set an important precedent for dealing with later instances of genocide and crimes against humanity. This is my grandma Harriet Marcus. World War II not only affected her as a person alive during the war, but also as a Jewish person alive during the war. The terror that Hitler and the Nazis killed, gassed, and murdered millions of people, 6 million of whom were Jewish, horrified her. She is angry that Germany, as well as neighboring countries, folded and collapsed under this evil dictator. In the mid-1950s, she attended a Jewish day school in the States. Even though she was lucky to be away from the severe post-war anti-Semitism in Europe, reminders of Jewish treatment from the war were everywhere. Many of her classmates' parents had escaped from the Nazis, and one of her family friends escaped from Belzec. Grandma remembers always staring at the identification number tattooed on her arm. At her school in New Jersey, they would do special drills in case of an attack or bombing. Even though Grandma Harriet was scared every day of being hurt for her religion, what she remembers most clearly was the pride she felt when the United States ended the war. Her image of this country was shaped by the idea that we went in and saved the Jews and Europeans from an evil dictator. I have grown up thinking about mass shootings and an awful president. I have never viewed our country in a positive light. But Grandma worshipped her president, Truman, and used to believe the U.S. to be the greatest country in the world. But she doesn't see the U.S. that way anymore. She is depressed that our country can stand behind a man with such poor values. It reminds her of the way Germany got sucked in by Hitler. I suspected that my conversation with Grandma would consist of her criticizing Germans and how horribly the Jews were treated. She did briefly mention the sadness and fear that came with being Jewish in this time of extreme anti-Semitism, but most of our conversation was about the pride she felt to be part of the country that destroyed an evil, hateful regime. I never thought about how disheartening it must be to watch your country go from a place that disputes this kind of hatred to one that elects it.